The following is the Tony Lasano podcast, an Opie show on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. This is Free Kicks. Well, our world traveler is back. Is it okay if we do a show this week? You up for it?
Yeah, squeeze it in.
Okay.
Squeeze it in.
Well, I appreciate that. I have a song I'd like to start you with. Again, this is a walkout music from one of the Premier League clubs. You have to tell me which one. This time I'm not going to tell you what the name of the song is because that will give it away. All right? I'll tell you that it was written in 1907 by William Ward Higgs.
Oh, of course.
Yes. He wasn't even a sir. So, here we go. There's the giveaway at the end there.
Well, it said, did I hear a Sussex?
You did.
So there's only one team that I would guess that plays in Sussex. If I know my geography.
Yeah.
Is it Brighton and Hove Albion?
It is very good. And isn't that a stirring number?
Yes, oh man, I would be so geared up if I heard that to run onto the pitch. So, goodness gracious.
It worked for the boys in World War I. So.
Yeah, exactly. I guess so. Whatever works. They really run out to that.
That's what they say. That's what it says on their website.
I'll have to talk to my friend who's a Brighton fan. We're actually going to be seeing him in a few weeks, so.
Okay.
I'll have to check with him, make sure that's the deal.
All right, it's time for Free Kicks.
And now, Free Kicks. Free Kicks with Illinois Youth Soccer Association's Director of Coaching, Adam Howard, and Rick Kemper.
So it sounds like you're still a little under the weather.
Yeah, just a little bit of a cough here and there, probably around people. I'm trying to be conscious of that.
Yeah.
Traveling, being on a plane, all that kind of stuff. So, but getting slowly better. I think everybody's struggling with it, to be fair.
Yeah, it's definitely something going around. My whole family, we went through a whole week of no eating, basically, for a week.
Yeah. No, I get it. Absolutely.
All right. Since you mentioned it, you were on an airplane and you're back. So now it is time for this.
And now, a Free Kicks report from across the pond.
See, we haven't been able to play that one in a few years.
Yeah, from across the pond. I like it.
Yes. So tell me what happened. I saw your picture. You sent me some pictures from Holland. You should definitely post a few of those on our Facebook page, too.
I will do. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, there was about a dozen of us that went. So all of us were technical leaders with state associations. So we're working with our partner World Strides, who've been doing a lot of trips for us and for a lot of our Olympic development programs. And lucky enough to be invited to go on the trip with all these great people. We had a super time. So we went to, I think we can call it the home of total football, right, in Holland.
Yeah.
So we visited Feyenoord. So we spent some time at the academy, got an idea of what they do and how they do things, got to see their stadium.
Did Arnie Slot come from there?
Arnie Slot came from PSV.
PSV,
actually.
That's right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which was the next one. So we went to PSV right after that and then finished up at AZ Alkmaar. Not AZ, AZ Alkmaar is how you pronounce it.
Okay.
And so had a great time. Was able to catch one game, like professional game, and that was at AZ Alkmaar. We went to see the AZ Alkmaar Europa League game against Tottenham Hotspur. So my favorite team, I got to see live in the flesh, and They did that. They did not disappoint. They were as disappointing as I always think they were, and they ended up losing 1-0. Yeah, and to be fair, They were very disappointing. It seemed like their energy level wasn't great, and I'm not just saying that. I'm stating facts because that's exactly what Ange Postecoglou said about the game as well. He said it was not their best performance by far, and it was probably when you look at probably the worst thing that took place. I don't know if you saw it. It was a little bit. I saw some stuff on Twitter. They did this free kick routine where they just kind of ran into each other. It was shocking. It was shocking.
I did see
it was
that.
just like it was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was like a Benny Hill number.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got to see that, and then we actually was able to watch an AZ Alkmaar women's game, first team game. They played PEC Zwolle, Zwolle. So that was good. So we caught that game at the end. Plus there was 16 games, U16s, U18, all kinds of different games. So we got to catch a lot of academy matches and different things, and just got a good feel of how they do things in Holland. So, and as I always keep saying, we do a lot of the same things in the United States. It's nothing different.
Yeah.
But it's always good to hear what's happening elsewhere. And we're in a good place here in the United States in terms of how we're progressing. But their facilities are pretty nice when you get to go to some of these places.
And it is the sport of the country. I mean, they play other sports, but it is, it's their number one sport, which people in America always forget. We've got our best athletes playing other sports.
Right, that's exactly it. And you just don't realize just how many people are. I mean, I think when you look at population and you look at numbers in terms of where everything is, it's just crazy that they're able to basically train with their national team pretty much on a bi-weekly basis. Whereas here we're so spread out.
Right.
Talent identification becomes a lot easier. They're able to work on different things a little bit quicker, and they can meet with their national teams. I think that was always the joke, right? So how often do you get together with the national team? Every week, So it's like that. That's the whole idea.
Do they also do when we were in England? They do the signing players at age 6, that sort of thing.
It really depends. Not so much. I think it's a little younger in England, and again, it depends on the philosophy of the club. AZ actually, they decide to keep their players at a younger age up until U11. So they play with their community clubs up until that point, and that's when they bring them in.
Oh, okay.
Like that. So it depends on how it is. And it seems like very much like when we were in England, they're connected with the community and local clubs. And it's certainly seen as an honor for those players to leave their community club and go to the AZs, the PSVs, and different things. So that makes a big difference. Plus, all those also there, depending on how things go, there is a financial incentive, which I know we're working on slowly here in the United States. But if that player gets sold again and again and again, the money goes back to the original club. So there's a little bit of a proportion of income that can come back in. So, like for example, I give an example of in England, there was a player who played for a community, like my local community club. He's actually now just signed recently with West Ham, 40 million transfer. I think the local club ended up getting about 4 or 5 million, which is huge.
Wow,
that's a massive amount of money.
That helps.
So that can change the whole perspective of where everything goes. So yeah, so there's lots of incentives there to do it. But had a really good watch in terms of how everything is. Probably one of the highlights for me was actually watching their under-19s AZ play. I was really impressed with their teams and how they play, especially because it's a smaller club. It's not it's not PSV, it's not Feyenoord. But their U19s just played Real Madrid in the week and actually beat them.
Wow.
So their under-19s are legit. They are a good team. And then I know they talked a little bit about the coach came in after the game and spoke to us after we watched the game. He said, we were a little worried about, obviously, after beating Real Madrid, now we're playing a smaller team. Well, how are we going to do? Ended up winning 7-0. So nothing changed. Nothing changed. Yeah.
Yeah, if I remember right from our little trip to Holland, they did seem to have a killer instinct. Like when they're beating someone, they really don't take the foot off the gas.
No, they don't. Yeah. They were good. And absolutely. And I know you've been there, and we did get to visit. We didn't go into the club itself, but we got to visit Ajax as well at the end. So that was nice. So we did a little stadium tour of Ajax as well. Cool. So that was good.
All right. Well, let's talk about what's happening in England. Big news this week. Manchester United just announced it this week that they are going to build a new stadium. Old Trafford is going to go away. Kind of hard to believe, isn't it?
It is. It looks like they're going to be spending a good chunk of money on this thing, too. From what I'm seeing, £2 billion.
Yeah.
For a 100,000 capacity stadium.
Right.
Which is basically going to be pretty much right next to the current home at Old Trafford. But I've seen some pictures, and it does look pretty impressive if that's how it's going to look.
Yeah, I mean, we joke about how well they play the last couple of years, but this is one of the biggest clubs in the world. I mean, they have all the money in the world.
Yes.
They have, the organization, they're international, everybody knows Manchester United. Having a stadium of that size, you'd think in a city like Manchester, I mean, Manchester's not that big, right?
Good size. Yeah, but you're right. It's not London for sure.
Right, exactly. And you've got two clubs that have huge stadiums, so you wouldn't expect that to be something that could happen. But obviously, it is happening, and I think that there's probably some people that are excited, but there are probably some people who are like, "Hey, wait a minute. What about our Old Trafford?"
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, it's a tough one because you can see it. I mean, it holds 75,000 now. So they're going to make this into a 100,000 seat stadium. So you've added another 25,000 people who are going to be going in. So that's obviously added revenue.
Right.
Now the club is about £1 billion in debt right now. But they're trying to figure things out within all of the issues that they've had. There was a big interview this past week, which was a little bit controversial, with the owner coming on and talking a little bit about how maybe they made some poor decisions.
Yeah,
maybe they've maybe overpaying some players, calling out some players, which was probably maybe a little tougher to do. Maybe not the best thing to do. But ultimately, they've got money. People are always going to finance them because of the billion people that they have that support them.
Right.
So it's going to happen. How quickly it's going to happen is the question. Typically, from what I was reading, this takes about 10 years to build a stadium of this size. They're thinking they can do it in 5. So good luck to them. If they can do it, good for them. Could be the best stadium ever. We'll see.
All right. Well, so as far as the table goes, there's some drama left, but not that much, because champions are essentially crowned, right? The Liverpool is 15 points up, and it just doesn't look like they're going to lose. We're not talking about Champions League in this episode. We'll talk about that next week. We'll do a whole Champions League roundup when we get to the final 8. And
for sure.
Spoiler alert: Liverpool won't be in it. But and also the bottom 3 seems stuck. It looks to me like those 3 are going back down, the same 3 that came up. So as we head into the home stretch, it's really time to look at who's going to qualify for Europe. And as far as that goes, it is wide open. And Absolutely. I've been hearing people say that there are going to be 5 Premier League teams that could qualify for the Champions League next season. Can you explain why that is, how that works?
Yeah, so they're looking at the potential of 5 teams because of it's almost similar to those of you who follow basketball. We're in March Madness, an RPI factor, right? So the strength of schedule, strength of the league, and all of those things. So I think previously last year, I believe it was Italy, did very well. So they ended up getting the extra team. Now it looks like obviously England's done very well in terms of their teams competing in Europe. So there it looks like they're going to get that extra spot. So obviously Liverpool's in, and then there's the chance of 4 others. Now what would be interesting is the curveballs that could be thrown. Manchester United and both Tottenham are in the Europa League,
right,
and they could win it. So if they win it, they're not going to get into Europe, looking at where they are in the table.
Right.
They're not going to get into Europe, but they could get into the Champions League if they win the Europa League. So in the past, what's happened, that's taken away a spot from the 5. So that could be really tough.
And then there's also the Conference League.
And the Conference League, so obviously Chelsea's still in that.
Right.
If they then win the Conference League, they're automatically in the Europa League for next year.
Okay. So, all right. So this is complicated. You could have 5, 7, 8 teams that go to Europe in some way, shape, or form, right?
Possibly. Yeah, possibly.
Maximum.
Excuse me. Yeah. So it depends on how everything is. And I think what's going to end up happening, what's happened in the past, is unfortunately, if teams win those tournaments, they take away spots from people that finish higher in the league.
Yes,
that's exactly
but they
what
will
happened.
still also, but they would be a Premier League team that would go in, right?
Possibly. It depends. Yeah. It depends. I mean, I certainly have a hard time with, and again, this is probably from a European standpoint, they'd have a hard time allowing 8, 9 Premier League teams in if everybody wins and different teams come in. Right. So that would be the issue. So let's say Chelsea finishes in the top 5, but they win the Europa League, the Conference League, then obviously they're not going to go into the Europa Cup. They're going to go into.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
So there's a lot. It gets a little complicated. It's exciting that the teams are doing so well that they have these possibilities. The 2 teams that really are probably going to gain the most by winning the Europa League would be Tottenham and Manchester United.
Right.
Because there's no way they're ever going to get close to being in Europe. So that's the thing.
Yeah, they're really not in the hunt at all. So let's talk about the teams that are. All right. So you've got right now you have Liverpool 70 points. Second place is Arsenal with 55 points. They seem like they're safe, but they're really only 4 points ahead of Forest. Chelsea is only 2 points behind Forest.
Yep.
And then Man City, Newcastle are only 2 points behind Chelsea. Yep. And then Brighton's 1 back, and Villa is 2 back, and Bournemouth is 3 back, and Fulham has got 42 points. I mean, they're only 7 points out of 4th place at
right.
9th place.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is really a battle between these teams. It could go any way from here on in. Yeah,
I would agree. I think Arsenal to 10th place, where Fulham is at 42.
Yeah,
you could argue Crystal Palace and Brentford aren't too far away.
Right.
Then there's a drop off. Tottenham are 34 and Man United 34. But you could argue 2 through 12.
Yeah, I guess you could. Right.
Has a chance. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Anything can happen. There's a lot of big games to come up. We'll find out where everything stands. It seems like these top 6 or 7 can kind of rotate depending on who they're playing.
Yeah.
Especially if you have a run in when you've got Ipswich, Leicester, and Southampton, maybe those bottom 3 teams may have a big impact on who finishes in the top 4 or 5.
Right, and then they'll be playing against each other as well, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
So taking a look at how these teams are playing now and what sort of form they're in, Arsenal, Forest, Chelsea, Man City, Newcastle, Brighton, Villa, Bournemouth, and Fulham, I'd say. Of those teams, who are you looking at to say, all right, this team is someone to look out for? They're in form. They've got a shot at it. And which teams look like they're just hanging on with their fingernails and just hoping?
That's a really tough question because I'm looking at the form guide and everybody's lost quite a few.
Right.
The team in the best form right now is that I would say Brighton Hove Albion. So they've got 4 wins in a row. So they're on the best run right now, other than Liverpool, obviously. So they're the team that I think have the most form, which is ironic considering they lost 7-0 to Nottingham Forest. It's amazing.
They did.
But so they're the team, I think, with the best form. All the others have been very inconsistent. Newcastle win, loss, win, loss. Man City win, loss, win, loss. Chelsea's won a couple of 2 in a row, but then they've also lost a couple on the road. Nottingham Forest, that was their first win in their last 4. So if there's a team that I would say is on the up and up right now, it's probably Brighton.
Okay. Yeah, and they're only 3 points back of Chelsea.
Exactly. Yeah, they win this weekend. You know, they could definitely be a big result for them, and they've got a big game too. So.
Yeah, we'll be getting to that. And then the team that you're like, yeah, these guys are not going to do it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really tough for a Fulham, Crystal Palace. I'm going to put Bournemouth potentially in that realm because I think there's still a chance for them because they've been pretty consistent, but they did lose their last couple.
Yeah.
Drew over the weekend. If I'm talking about a dark horse, I'd put my money on Villa to maybe have a little bit of a run as well.
Yeah, and they're still alive in the Champions League.
Oh yeah. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. They'll play this hopefully because they are up 3-1. They play today.
Right.
We're recording it on Wednesday. Yeah.
Yeah. So right, they'll be facing that PSG team, which is looking pretty good, I gotta say.
Yeah.
All right, so that's a pretty good analysis of where we stand. We'll hear about what some of the games are coming up a little bit later. But let's talk about the weird stat of the week.
Okay.
I want to talk to you about hat tricks. Okay, because recently Justin Kluivert became the first player to score a hat trick from the penalty spot. That's never happened before. All 3 goals, all from the penalty spot.
Yeah.
So it made me think about some other odd hat trick stats. The fastest hat trick in Premier League history belongs to Sadio Mane. He scored 3 goals in 2 minutes and 56 seconds for Southampton against Villa in 2015. Sergio Aguero has scored the most. He has done it 12 times, 12 hat tricks. That's pretty good.
Really? Wow.
In 1999, Manchester player Ole Gunnar Solskjaer scored 4 goals in 12 minutes as a sub against Nottingham Forest. That's the fastest scoring of 4 goals in Premier League history. All right, here's a couple for you. Who has scored a hat trick of head balls?
Was it this year?
No, it's a while
ago. A while ago?
Yeah. One was from Everton, one was from West Brom.
My guess, but I think of Everton, Duncan Ferguson.
That is correct. Duncan Ferguson did 3.
That's a guy that would score headers no matter what.
Yeah.
Absolutely. As for another one, I don't know. Another striker. Who you said from where?
From West Brom.
West Brom. Like Cyril Regis.
Good guess. No, it's Solomon Rondon.
Okay.
He did it also. And then the youngest one to get one was Michael Owen from Liverpool. He did that in 1998. And the oldest was Teddy Sheringham at age 37 for Portsmouth against the Bolton Wanderers back in 2003. All right. Free Kicks is brought to you by the Illinois Youth Soccer Association.
Illinois Youth Soccer has been proudly serving the Illinois soccer community since 1975 and has a strong history of credibility. Illinois Youth Soccer is a non-profit corporation, official state association, and charter member of the U.S. Soccer Federation, administers U.S. Soccer Federation coaching programs, U.S. Soccer Federation referee programs, and U.S. Soccer Federation Olympic Development Program. For more information, go to illinoisyouthsoccer.org.
Okay, time for this.
Time now to guess the Premier League star.
All right, I think you're going to get this one pretty easily because this is a very well-known Premier League star. Okay, no pressure. All right, he is 34 years old, so he's been around.
Yeah,
and he's playing on his 5th Premier League team. And that team is one of the teams we've discussed on this show. They were still in the hunt. Okay, that cuts it down to 12 teams.
Yeah.
His previous teams are all over the country. He was on one way north. He was one in the Northwest, one in London, one in the London suburbs, and one in the South. Okay, so they know him all over the land.
Mm-hmm.
He has won 1 Premier League title, 2 FA Cups, and 3 Community Shields. And unlike the players I usually choose, he's English.
Okay, there you go.
Right? And he's got 42 caps for the national team. And has scored 16 goals for the national team.
Really? I initially thought Ross Barkley, but I don't think he's quite as old as that.
No, that'd be a good one, too.
Mm.
I ran this by my son, and he was guessing. Who did he guess? No, not the correct answer either.
Yeah.
Oh, he was guessing James Milner, but it's not James Milner.
Okay, but I think he's from that team.
Oh, yes, he is.
And when you started talking about that, when I was like, yeah, tricked right away. Has to be, and he's been so good. He's been really good this year. Danny Welbeck.
Yes, very good. Yeah, he's on his 5th team. He played for Manchester United. He played for Sunderland. Mm-hmm. He played for Arsenal. He played for Watford. And now he's at Brighton. Yeah.
He's been really, really... He kind of reinvents himself every time he goes to a new club. And he was consistent for England. He was kind of in that time when needed him. You know, when we were struggling with strikers. Now we've got obviously probably a plethora of strikers, but
right. He hasn't played. He hasn't played on the national team for a while, but
yeah. I don't think he's getting pulled up anytime soon. But he scored some big goals. You know, played in some big games. Played in Euros, I think, a few times as well. Maybe even the World Cup too.
Yeah.
So I mean, when you think about a career, I mean, that guy's had a career. There's no question about it.
And seems to have found the fountain of youth this season, as you mentioned. He's a real force on Brighton.
I've had him in and out of my fantasy team. He's been he'll go through a stretch where he'll score a bunch of goals, and he does super well. Super player, and definitely a Premier League star.
Okay, good. Wow, the first time you've ever given me a pat on the back.
Yeah, exactly. I'll get whenever the credit's worth, dude.
So how many? 240 episodes? How many have we gone?
That's about you got at least 4 or 5 where I've given you credit, and this one is a good solid credit. Okay. Well deserved. Good job. Well done, Rick.
Well, thank you. All right, it's time for another feature.
Now time for Adam's Weekend Soccer TV Tip.
Okay, there's some big games coming up this weekend. Why don't you tell us about them?
Yeah, so here's the first of all, the most important fact is that all the games are an hour later. So,
yeah, that threw me off yesterday watching that Liverpool game.
Yeah, so you've got to be happy about that. So you can thank George Bush for spring forwarding our hours earlier. Mm-hmm. And so they don't do that in Europe until the end of March. So we've got a couple of weeks of games a little bit later, and time difference a little bit different. So the 3 o'clock games, typically that start at 9, are going to be starting at 10.
Yay!
So here you go. You got it. Perfect. And so Saturday, I think there's 2 games you've got to watch. Saturday's game, we talked about them already, and they could potentially pull themselves up considerably. Brighton away at Manchester City, and so we'll see how Manchester City rebounds after their loss this past weekend. And then the big one, pretenders potentially for top 4 or contenders for top 4. And I'm talking about my team, Chelsea. They've been inconsistent. They win one, lose one, and they're away at the Emirates against Arsenal. This is probably Arsenal's last hope They've got to hope that they get a result. And obviously Liverpool's not playing because they are playing in another game in the Carabao Cup against Newcastle. And I'm going to predict right now, Newcastle will win their first trophy.
Wow.
In 1,000 years. They are going to win because Liverpool is hurting right now.
Yeah.
Rough loss in the Champions League. Injuries galore. It's time for Newcastle to get a result.
Well, that is a bold prediction right there.
You're welcome.
When is that game?
That game is on Sunday. So they'll be playing that game on Sunday. That is at 11:30 a.m. kickoff. You may have to, I think that's Paramount Plus or ESPN Plus, one of the two.
Okay.
So a little later. So, yeah, it's going to be a good one.
All right. Yeah, you're right about that Chelsea-Arsenal game. That's a big game for Arsenal. If they win, they could move within 12 points.
Exactly right. I mean, it could be right there knocking on the door. Exactly.
But in all seriousness, that's going to be a good one. I think it's a bigger game for Chelsea.
I agree.
Because Chelsea's got, I mean, they're in fourth place. They're in a Champions League spot, but they've got to be feeling pretty nervous with how many teams are right behind them.
Oh, for sure. And, unfortunately, they did win. They beat a very average Leicester team that was a little bit better, but barely. And that was with a missed penalty by Mr. Cole Palmer, first one of his career. So yeah, we'll see. Hopefully they can rebound in a positive way. And I think that they're moving in a decent direction, Chelsea, but they've been a little bit inconsistent. We'll see if they win that one. They could potentially get into third place. We'll see.
All right. Yeah, that's true. They could move past Forest. All right. So, Free Kicks is brought to you by Green White Soccer Club. Tryouts are coming up in April. Go to greenwhitesoccer.org to see when and where those tryouts are. greenwhitesoccer.org. All right, we have people to thank. We need to thank our executive producer, Tony Lasano with Opie Shows. Thank you, Tony, for everything. Also, thanks to Ed Silla, who's our distributor from the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. Great Talk Radio isn't dead. It just moved to a better place, and that's RadioMisfits.com. And next week, we're going to come back. We're going to do a Champions League show, right?
Yes, we will.
You up for that?
Absolutely.
All right, we'll be back next week with a brand new episode of Free Kicks.
The proceeding was a presentation of the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. Find our other great shows on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and at RadioMisfits.com. Thank you.
This has been a presentation of Opie Productions.
Tony, can you shut up?